Pre-Algebra Lesson 8. We are multiplying and dividing by powers of 10 and also ordering decimal numbers. So this should be our last section on decimal numbers, and then multiplying and dividing by powers of 10 is actually a very quick lesson. So hopefully this video will be much shorter than yesterday's or Lesson 7's video, depending on which day you end up watching these. So let's start with multiplying and dividing by powers of 10. The cool thing about multiplying by powers of 10 is, well, let's first understand what they mean by powers of 10. By powers of 10, we are talking about the following numbers. We have 10, we have 100, we have 1,000, we have 10,000, we have 100,000, 1 million, and etc. So any number that is 1 followed by zeros, that's what they mean by a power of 10. Now, one thing we want to notice when we're multiplying or dividing by powers of 10 is how many zeros there are. Well, 10 has 1 0, 100 has 2, 1,000 has 3, 10,000 has 4 zeros, 100,000 has 5 zeros, and 1 million has 6 zeros. Right, so we can see that every time we add a zero, the number goes up. And then the other thing that's interesting is each group is in fact made of 10 of the previous group. So for example, 10 added up 10 times equals 100. Or if I were to go to 10,000, 1,000 added up 10 times equals 10,000. Or even if I go to a million is equal to 100,000 added up 10 times. So that's another cool thing to notice about these powers of 10. Now, what does that mean for us when we're multiplying? Well, let's take the exact same number and we'll multiply it by all of these numbers. Let's multiply. We'll take the number 73 and 426 thousandths. So if I have 73 and 426 thousandths, or as some of us might call 73.426, which is the incorrect way of saying it, and we multiply it by the number 10, what's going to happen is this number will get bigger. The question is, by how much? Well, it will get bigger by exactly 1 decimal place. So to multiply by a power of 10, all we have to do is move the decimal place. And if we're multiplying this by 10, it's going to move 1 place, or 1 0. Right? If we were to take this same number and multiply it by, say, 10,000, it would actually move 4 zeros, right? So this 1 place, right? And then if we multiply it by 10,000, it would move 4 zeros. It would move 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would have to add a 0 there, which means that the answer would be 734,260. So let's see what happens on the other end here. So this times 10 is going to move 1 decimal place, and it will become 734 and 26 hundredths, right? This one times 10,000 actually ends up becoming 734,260. Right? So is everyone seeing how that works? So if all we have to do when we multiply by powers of 10 is count the 0 and then move the decimal place to the right in order to make a larger number, this is something that a lot of people can do in their heads. And this is something that we want to practice doing in our heads. So when we're multiplying by these mental powers of 10, we should be able to take a brand new number. For example, we'll take, we'll go 41 and 32 hundredths. So let's take this number, we'll multiply it by 1,000, and we should be able to mentally get the answer. So mentally, if without drawing anything, I can say, hey, that's going to move 1, 2, 3 zeros, I can write this as 4, 1, 3, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and then we'll add an extra 0 for that third decimal point, and then I can apply my comma. The answer should be 41,320. So this is something we'll be able to do mentally, and this is what we have to learn how to do in this lesson. So just remember, the number of zeros is the number of decimal places. I saw 3 zeros, so I moved 3 places. Okay? And you can do all of that in your head, all right? And that's what we're going to start practicing in our homework. So do your best to not write anything down. At the very beginning, if you need to write these little swoops on your work paper, that's fine. But in the end, you should be able to do these in your head. Now, let's talk about division. Division is the exact same way, except when we divide a number, we'll go back to 41 and 32 hundredths. So let's say we have the number 41 and 32 hundredths, and I'm dividing that by 1,000. Should my number get bigger or smaller? If I take the number 41 and break it into 1,000 pieces, it'll get a lot smaller. So I'm going to do the exact same operation. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3 decimal places, or 3 zeros, and instead of making the number bigger, I'm going to make it smaller. So I'm going to go in the opposite direction. 1, 2, 3, place my decimal point, and add any zeros if necessary. So that means my final answer is going to be 0 and 0, 4, 1, 3, 2, or it'll be 4,132 ten thousandths, or is that 100 thousandths? Let's see here, 1,000, 10,000, 100 thousandths. Yep. 4,132 hundred thousandths. That is the final answer here. Okay. So division works the exact same way. You count the zeros, you move the decimal places. The only difference is you're moving in the opposite direction to make a smaller number. Now, let's go over the last bit of information, which is ordering decimal numbers. And ordering decimal numbers, if you recall, is going to be a lot like our, was it second or third lesson, where we were talking about ordering numbers on the number line. Let me check here. It was, yes, the second lesson. So the second half of the video for the second lesson is exactly how ordering decimal numbers is going to be. We're going to have to scale it. All right? Now, when we're ordering our decimal numbers, we have to be a little bit smart about how we set up the scale. So let's take an example, and then we'll solve it as quick as we can to try to give you a decently short video. So let's draw our number line, and I'm not even going to put any marks on it yet because who knows where 0 is going to be. Okay, so if I'm dealing with all positive numbers, then 0 can be all the way on the left side of the number line. And the numbers I'm dealing with to order from least to greatest are, we have 0.321 or 321 thousandths. Then we have 0.0945 or 945 ten thousandths. Then we have 95 thousandths. And lastly, we have 3,199 ten thousandths. All right, so how in the world do I figure out which one of these numbers is bigger than the other? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 on my number line, and then I am going to put a marker. The other marker I'm going to put is the number 1, because all of these numbers are smaller than the number 1. So I've got 0 and I've got the number 1. Now, the way I can think about this is I can think about it as in tenths. So one thing that will help you out is if you mark things out in between on decimal numbers. So if I've got all these numbers going in between 0 and the number 1, and I mark out my tenths, I can have, let's see here, we'll make that 0.1, and then we've got 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and then 1.0. All right, and this will kind of help me figure out where these numbers lie, just based on the first place value. So if I go to the number 0.321, I know 0.3 and then 21 is going to be somewhere after this 3. So I can cross that one out, and I can put 0, 3, 2, 1. All right, so there's one of my numbers. Okay, now let's go to the next one, 0.0945. 0.9 means I'm smaller than the 0.1. So that means we're going to be like right around here-ish. So I've got 0.0945. Right, that one's done. Next one, I've got 0.095. Ooh, okay, now I got to figure out between 0.945 is 0.95 bigger. Well, if you think about it, the 5 is counting closer to the 1. Although 5 might be smaller than 45, we just have to look at one decimal place at a time. So since the 5 is bigger than the 4, this is actually going to be bigger. So that one will be right there, and it'll be 0.095. All right, so I'm going to put that one farther to the right, so because it's bigger than the first one. Okay. Then lastly, I have 0.3199. Ooh, okay. Is this one bigger or smaller than 0.32? Well, it's actually smaller because 3.1 is smaller than 3.2. So notice how I'm just taking it one decimal point at a time. I'm not looking at it and saying, oh, 3,199 is bigger than 321, because that would be wrong. I just have to look at it one place value at a time. All right. So I have to remember this 2 is worth more than that 199. Okay. So that one is going to be right there, which means I will have 0.3199 there. And now they are in order. So the order is going to be, for the final answer, it's going to be 0.0945, comma, 0.095, comma, 0.3199, comma, 0.321, and that will be the final answer. That's it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know on the website, and I will see you in the next one.